All right, you're back. I'm tired. If you haven't noticed, I'm tired. But let's do our best. One of these days, it's going to be too late. But I didn't add up what I have today, just where we are as of this morning, 6,150,000. And I'll add up what you guys tell me. You told me earlier, and now I'll add that up for tomorrow. Hey, Ralph, I do apologize if he listens to David. I thought he was the short David. I didn't know he was the truck driver. So I did appreciate his questions. I just I don't know. It's hard to tell who's the shorts or not. ADH, I like the kitty cat. Kitty cat. All right, so now what? All right. I got to write that down. And Raiden, both of you guys both are coming out of the gate. So now what? And Raiden, 24.3, awesome. The stock is, hey Steve, hey Jeff. Yeah, and I said it just a second ago. I feel badly that I didn't mean to jump on David. I really didn't. I thought he was a short. I just was wrong. Okay, these are old pieces of info. Don't need them. Just need this one. All right, so the stock right now is 57.52, but you know what? It's not that much volume. So they're playing around with it. It was 1.1 million when I signed off, roughly, and now it's 1.11 million. So it really hasn't traded much. They're trying to make you, I don't know what. It's a hopeless game they're in. This time it's hopeless for them, in my judgment. See, it's catching on. I'm back, Uncle Bill. Yeah, you're still the head honcho, but there's going to be a lot of senior honchos and senior honcho rats. A lot of people are going to have, I think, a lot of people are going to be very happy. Hey, Jeff. Hey, it's going to be a little longer play than some of these others, but you know what? All these others ended up being a long time. So it's probably not going to be. Let's see what Kevin said. Hey, Kevin. I see why you said finger motion won't squeeze. It seems clear and clear every day. Yeah. I'm one of the slowest ones out there, but it's never too late to recognize. I was talking to someone, I forget who, but lots of times in our conundrums, our problems, our situations, our dead ends or we don't know how to move forward. Lots of times it's our assumptions that have us frozen. And it's the basic assumptions we make. Anyway, for me, I've had to tear it all down, and it's not pretty. So I think Railtown is the best antidote to what we've experienced. Hey, Sam Guest. I now have, all right, 5,000. 5,000 is the new 10,000. There'll be a time when people, Sam, won't be able to get it. Let me put it differently. There'll come a time in the next months where to buy 5,000 shares of Railtown will be very expensive. So I'm glad you're doing it. That's congratulations. Steve added more. Oh, wow. Good for under. Wow. Under 59. Wow. That's a good price. You've got so many. Why do you care about the price? Sada Aman, all right. She just added 14. All right. Sada is going to be another one of the people I'm going to have to bow down before as they walk by. Ralph N. Good for you, Ralph. Good for you. Sada, congratulations. That's a great number. It's a great total. Ralph, good for you as well. And Anthony T. You're no relation to Tony D. Just kidding. 33,120. Any MMTLP news? I can look. I don't think so. Next bridge. Oh, June 18th. June, July. We already read that, the update regarding the SEC filing. So no, there's nothing new that I know about for Next Bridge. Sam Guest, God bless you, William, being so open and frank. My only fear is, will they do an offering to complete their acquisition? You have no fear of that. I don't know. That's what Tony don't know a lot Dinero is telling everybody. I mean, the honest answer is I don't know. But let's run through an example and see what if it changes the story. How much would you think they would need to raise in cash to acquire the company? I think very little. So it would be stock. You would argue it would be a stock acquisition. So they have 140 million shares outstanding. I would assume, since Railtown is the acquirer, the worst case is they would keep 100 and I think it's 141 million is the Yahoo number. The OTC markets number is like 139 or 138 million. Let's just use 141 million shares right now. Existing, on Yahoo they call it implied. They call it the implied outstanding shares of Railtown. And let's go full on Tony, not too bright dinero, and let's say that they're just gonna dilute maximally to get the deal done. I don't think they're going to have to do an offering to raise cash. The reason I say that, I mean, there might be a small part of it's for cash, but the AI Partners guys who are ex-Homers, they're John Ruffalo, runs his own investment banking firm, Mavericks. They're not going to do it for cash. They're going to want ownership. They're going to want the upside. So let's just say they max it out and our worst fears come true. I don't think, by the way, I don't think this is happening. But let's just say they issue let's just say they issue 140 million shares to AIP. So Railtown has 1 more million, so they keep control. I just don't think they'll do it this way, but it's the worst case, and I'm just trying to go with the worst case so that you can be calm. So that'd be 281 million shares to get it done. Total 281 million. Let's call it 300 million. Let's call it 300 million. All right, so if we, and just to be clear, they have 140 million out now. I don't think they're going to increase it that much. They could set up a flow-through entity, or anyway, let's go with this example. The reason they won't issue, I don't think, more than that is Railtown will want to be the boss man. So that puts the limit. There's no way it's going to be this, but let's use 300 million. Now there's 2 sources of value to Railtown. In the acquisition. Okay, these are revenue numbers. So the combined company will have 2 sources of value. Railtown, they have the conductor, which I think's the key It's all they ever talk about. I think that's the key technology. But then they have Lang tracks, rail tracks, shredder, and they just announced this new uh, video tool for developers. So they have what they call 4 companies, and then they have another tool. They're going to sell these, but primarily Conductor as their revenue generating product. So that'll be Conductor. It'll be these others. And then when they merge in, there'll be 165 of the network affiliates to AI partner, AIP. There's 165 of them. That reportedly, I saw this number on Twitter. I have a picture of it. I'm not going to show it again because the person took it down, and I think it might be something we'll learn about after the quiet period. But these companies do, amongst them, 400 million in revenue. Now, this company, the network partners, they don't own that revenue yet. The whole goal was to roll up these companies into the parent. Well, now Railtown's buying the parent, so they take up that job. I've shown you pictures, calculations before. I don't think they can negotiate with 165 companies in 4 months. I think maybe over the last 4 months, they've been talking to the top 10, top 20, to get the majority of this. So let's assume that they get half of this. You know, the 80-20 rule, 20% of your companies do 80% of the business. Let's assume they get half. And I'll assume further that they are going to do it in some sort of revenue split. So let's assume out of the AI partners that, let's give them some time. Let's say over the by the third quarter or so, they will have locked down enough of that revenue so they can start projecting in 2026 $100 million from that revenue. Now, the tricky part, Railtown has those other 4 items. Let's just delete that and just focus on Conductor. I have no idea what Conductor would charge to users, because users are one-time users or bigger packs of users. But why don't we go by the research analyst, this research report, which I've shown you, if I can find it here. This is a year old. And they said Railtown AI, this is before AI partners, Railtown AI's current value proposition and future potential. Based on our discussions with several customers of Railtown, the value proposition of Railtown's AI tool is quite impressive. And then in the value calculation, they use a target market of $3 billion. So what they're doing, they're saying the platform currently functions as a root cause, I'm just reading here, as a root cause analyzer, Conductor, velocity dashboard, and release notes automator with future enhancements, including automatic ticket generation. They've already said they have that. and no-code virtual software development. The addressable market a year ago, they estimated at 3 billion. Internally, the guy said on the video 300 billion, but let's use 3 billion. And they say they'll get 3% of that. Which they also say they'll get a significant market share. 3% seems pretty small, but we'll go with 3%. Let's do that. 3% of 3 billion for Railtown. I'm just doing it. I'm using their numbers. I think their addressable market is very small compared to what's actually out there, and I think 3% is small. So let's use that. So 3 billion times 0.03, yeah, 90 million. 90 million for the Railtown existing number. And I'm talking about, these will be revenues that are believable enough that they'll be projected. Because in the AI space, that's all you need. You don't need the performance, you need a confident projection, and that's your valuation. At least that's the stage of the market we're in right now. So 90 million plus 100 million, we're going to have 190 million in projectable revenue. 190 million in projectable revenue. That's not out of the gate. I think reasonably that might be by the fourth quarter they can project this. Project it. That's different than saying they have it. But let's say 190 million. I think this is conservative. And then there's, Sam, there's this report written a year ago with a target of $2 has a 12 times revenue multiple. The study I've shown you before, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it where it is. Has a 25 times. And what I'm hearing, I used to have a friend at Goldman Sachs, but I'm hearing third hand, is that places like Goldman Sachs are paying these are the multiples. This research report, 12x, the study of the last 6 years, 90 different transactions, the average was 25x. Apparently in the AI 2.0 space, according to the big boys, the prices, values given are 100 to 150 times revenue. Let's just use the lowest one. Let's just use 12x. So we'll take 12x times 190 million which is, I think, a reasonable targeted revenue of the two parts of the combined company. I just don't know how long it takes for them to be able to project that. But I'm assuming, let's say, by the end of the year. So this will be for next year's revenues. But this marketplace, that good news is going to be projected now, is going to be brought back to now. That's the nature of bull markets and scrambles by Wall Street to establish a beachhead. So what does that work out to? And this is conservative. So I don't think I have to chop this. We might, if you want me to. But this is the potential valuation for the combined company, let's say 6 months from now. This is the revenue, which will be projected forward, but they'll bring the value current to estimate the enterprise value, because there's going to be a feeding frenzy to buy these companies from the Wall Street product creators. So anyway, that's 2.28 billion. There's currently 140 million shares outstanding. There's no way in hell it's going to go to 300 million, but let's use 300 million. Let's divide it by 300 million shares outstanding. Just to answer your question, just to take the worst of your fears, which Tony don't know much, dinero has given you. And that's a $7.60 stock. Fact is, they're not going to issue anywhere near that many shares. Well, that's $7.60. And that revenue will keep growing at a rapid rate. So that would be a target I would have for the stock near term, very near term. So my answer to your question, Sam, is even if they do like Tony has tried to scare you with, it'll be a plain vanilla raise. It won't be with one of the criminals. And in I think a very conservative estimate, it's worth $7 or $8 a share. Just to give you, well, let's leave it at that. I won't try to make it higher right now. But that's using 12x. Imagine if somebody paid 50 times to acquire it, or they valued it at 50 times the revenue, not 12 times. Because the going rate is 150 times at the maximum. And then you divided that by 300 million shares. It's a $32 stock. So Sam, I don't anyway, that's my answer. Just to take it to the extreme, even if they offer shares to make this deal done, it doesn't change the magnitude of the investment opportunity here. I think it's more likely, and I just don't know, and I can't wait to find out, because I'd like to imitate it if I ever run a company. Okay, Railtown's down a little bit, half a penny, but there's no volume. There's no volume. It's 1.13 million. So they've done over 100,000 since we've been on the phone, and it's all spoofing. It's all masturbation between these jerks. I got lost in what I was saying to you. Oh, I think what we might find out is they create a separate entity I don't know, call it, I don't know, call it Conductor Town. I don't know. They create a separate company, and all the interests go in there, and that's where shares are issued. That's where money is raised. But what flows up to us in Railtown is our revenue piece, maybe 50% of revenue. I don't know. I look forward to figuring it out. The other thing is they just do every acquisition on a revenue deal, roughly 50-50. And that's why I cut the revenue in half. I took the 200 million and called it 100 million. But I don't see it as a big risk, Sam. These guys have been through it before. They're not going to be fooled by the likes of Tony Not So Bright and Jeff Not So Easton and Kurt Not So Kramer. But I'll try to think of more to my answer as we go. Why do you think the volume has increased? I believe it's a good question. I believe some of it's our buying, a little bit. But I think the biggest part of the buying going on is whispering. It's Canada, so you got Canaccord, you've got the lawyers, you've got the insiders at Railtown and the insiders at AIP. Those guys are ex-Omers, which is a whole, and the Omers Ventures, which is a whole network of VC technology type investors and money. And then each of those 160 companies, they've got to be getting phone calls too. So I think it's the whispering. Hey, Joe, I think this is getting close. And the lawyer's calls to Mindy at the printing shop. Hey, make sure you print out, 10,000 of those final documents. We have to get them in the mail. And then Mindy tells her friend, and it's just the momentum. It's not loose lips sink ships in this case. It's just loose lips start the buying. And that's what I think it is. I think there's buying in Canada from people who are hearing. And by the way, not all of them are precluded to buy. Some of them might just be putting two and two together. But anyway, I think, Brandon, what you're seeing is buying because of knowledge that the deal's getting done. That's my opinion. And there's people jumping in. They've been waiting, just like we've waited, and I've waited, and I've finally flushed out my account, my big account. I had flushed it out and put it 100% in Railtown, or at least with the things that I could liquidate. God, I wish I could sell my GTII. I can't. That's what I should have done. It's one of the phone calls I should have made just now. Tesla is $295. G-Bucks is 198. No relation. I'm just teasing you. I knew it wasn't, but I couldn't resist. My iPhone stock ticker says 398 volume. Mine says and my platform is Morgan Stanley, E-Trade. Mine says 1,150,000 shares traded so far. And if we go to the Canada, the Canadian market, the stock's 80 cents. And the volume is 1.15 million. 80 cents. If we go 80 cents Canadian, it should be 58.47. That's where it's trading. That's what I think's going on, is that the trading is tied to Canada. How high was it today in Canada? The high today in Canada was 83. The 52-week range is 84. So that both stocks are meeting a little bit of natural pullback when they get to the all-time highs. I don't think that's going to be much resistance. Barefoot by DC. Wow. That sounds like it's in my neighborhood. 650 is great. Anything's great. Yeah, 1.07. That's right. I think that's right. Tommy B. He posts when it's down. 6% drop to 57. I'm not short. Nobody pays me. Yeah. And Tony, you're a good-looking guy, and you're really smart, and all the girls love you. Yeah, we believe it all. We're gullible. Jacqueline Bissett. Let's see. Jacqueline Brulotte. How much is possible to sell rail? I'm not sure. I think you typed that quickly. But if you're saying how much would Railtown sell for as a company to an acquirer, I think it'll be for billions of dollars in valuation. Will it be for tens of billions, or will it be for 100 billion? That part of it will be revealed as we go forward. My guess is the company's not for sale for anything under $100. Am I right? I don't know. But we're very early on the value creation curve. And these guys already have money. They already have experience. And they've been through the rodeo before. Corey Brandolini developed a software company and sold it to Microsoft before. So he's experienced, and he did it more than once, he and his buddies. They know when they leave money, when they sell too early, maybe when when they should sell and not get greedy. But they're not going to sell too early. And my guess is, and this is where it really, Jacqueline, it really gets into an area of getting way ahead of the skis, way ahead of projections. And I don't want anybody counting on this. But I wouldn't be surprised if I mean, I'll just, we can do an exercise. What if they get the AIP partners revenue that they get to keep up to 250 million? And what if they get the revenue generated within Railtown up to $150 million before they sell the company? That's 400 million. And let's say they put that out there, not at 50x, not at 150x, but at 100x. Remember, the acquirer will be using stock and might be competing with someone else. At this point, I think these numbers are getting in the rarefied area of goo goo gaga land, but it's possible. I'll use the same 300 million shares, which I don't see a chance in Hades of happening. But that's $133 a share. But I mean, you could only imagine if they get their revenue. Another way to look at it, his target revenue market before AI partners that he said was, he used a broad number, 300 billion a year. If they get 3% of that, it's 9 billion in revenue. And let's use 50 times that. Remember, they're paying with stock. But we won't use the higher multiples because it's such a big number, but we'll use 50 times. Yeah, I mean, it gets ridiculous very quickly. It gets really ridiculous. And we'll use 300 million shares, even though I don't think they're going to have more than 150. We'll find out about that. We will find out. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's 1,500 a share, 1,500. So instead of 50 times, let's just say it's 25 times. That's 750 a share. If you use 25 times revenue. If you don't want to use that, you want to use 12 and a half times. It could be $375 a share. This is all kind of meaningless in the sense that we don't know what the numbers are, but that's the potential, Jacqueline. So I would say that the stock right now it's at 60 cents or whatever it is. Let me see. Yeah, 60 cents. That was the Tony De Janeiro. I'm not short. I'm not very bright, but I'm not sure. I'm not short. Hey, I'm not short, but I'm not too bright either. Now we're at 60 cents again. I think, Jacqueline, 60 cents goes to $6. There'll be a range, but just to put a number on it, $6, let's say within 2 months or a lot sooner. And then $6 goes to $60 over the next 2 years or a lot sooner, $60. And just for the heck of it, I think I'm pushing it now. I would have set it from 35 cents differently, but just for the heck of it, I could see it being sold for stock in 2.5 years at $600 a share. But that's in the mists of time right now. And the only one I think is important to focus on is I think any day Railtown's going to stop trading at these prices. It just isn't going to be available under $1. And then you're going to see it start trading at prices more in line with what Wall Street thinks it's worth, rather than a guy like me trying to figure it out. And what would that be? I don't know how long it'll take to start trading that way. Maybe it takes overnight. It could be, but my guess is it'll be slow at first, and then all of a sudden, like Hemingway or The Great Gatsby or one of them. Slowly it'll go to 150, 250, 350, 4, 5, and then from 5 it might go to 6. The next thing you know, it's $18. Why? Because institutions will come in. So the key point I'm making is, yes, all those big picture things could happen later on, but right now, at some point, could be tomorrow, could be Monday, could be 3 Fridays from now, it could be Labor Day, but they are going to announce that the deal is finished. And then I think I don't think the stock's a 60-cent stock now. It should be a $6 stock, give or take. $2, give or take $2. Maybe give or take $3. But it should be there now. And I think that catch up in price, that repricing, the repricing of Railtown will happen once the quiet period is lifted by making the announcement. Yahoo average 263. I wonder what the difference is. I'm showing 1.22 million shares. Why would it be different? I don't know, Phil. I don't know why it would be different. Hey, Steve. What's up with Nix? I still have a couple of hundred shares. Wondering if I should sell and buy more Rail. I would sell and buy more. That's what I did. I owned Nix, and I sold it and bought Rail because my concern basically is if you don't buy Rail now, at some point in the future, it'll be $6 or $10. So, and I don't think that future is too far away. I don't know exactly when, but it could be very soon. And so that means Nixie would have to go to $20. I guess that's conceivable, but I don't know. To me, Nixie the revenues are extraordinarily appealing, 10 million a month and growing if they can pull it off. But Nixie, the auditor, the accountant, retired. Why? To spend more time with the family? I don't know. In any event, whether there was anything good or bad about it, it's going to take time to get the new audits completed. Does that affect any of the other things they're trying to get done? Does it delay? Do investors get bored and get out? Do deals they were working on get put on hold? I don't know. But to me, with Nixie, even if I'm wrong and Nixie does go up for good reason, doesn't mean my decision was wrong, which I made. Is I could see Nixie floundering for as long as it took to get the audit done. At the time I sold, I didn't know about the audit, by the way. But I'm mixing talking with you. When I got out of Nixie, I was concerned more that the information, the anticipation of the stock going to 12 or 20 or something just hadn't happened. And it's the same end result. It left me wondering, how much longer do I have to wait in Nixie? I could be here for months. I could be here till January. And with Railtown, I did this June 5th. I was wrong. I thought Railtown any day. I was wrong about June. But does that mean I'm going to be wrong about July? I think on the contrary, I'm more likely to be correct that something happens in July because time has marched on. But anyway, we'll find out. I just think it's urgent. That's all. I think it's urgent to own Railtown now. And I just decided that Nixie's flat to maybe a double or a triple with some risk of going down. And Railtown's 10x with the potential of being 15x. Or it's 5x. But it's better than being in Nixie. And then I did the trades and I closed my eyes. I didn't want anybody to tell me about the prices for about a week. I didn't want to look. I didn't know what I want to know about G-Bucks. I didn't want to know about Nixie. Didn't want to know about Finger because I was like, oh God, I know they're going to go up now that I've done this. But I would have been all right with that, even if they went up. All I would then say to myself is, hey, maybe I could have dodged and weaved a little bit better. But the going up or the going down doesn't invalidate the decision because I have a high degree of confidence in Railtown. I don't have a high degree of confidence in any of the other names. If they happen to work out, it's like gambling. It's like flipping a coin. It happens to be heads. So anyway, that's what I'm just saying what I say. No, I didn't mean to show. I don't know how I come across. I guess I'm much more forceful than I thought. I didn't take it as disrespect, and I also didn't with David earlier. I don't mean to give disrespect, except for the criminals, the criminal element, I do try to show disrespect to. I get it wrong sometimes who the person is, but I see shadows out there. 60 cents on Railtown. Brandon Neely, 6x is still 380 a share. That's 10x from where a lot of it. Well, that's true. But I've been willing to go up, slide up the scale. You're right, Brandon. When people were buying at $30 cents, 350, 40 cents, I was saying 10x then. I'm still willing to say it because I actually think once the stock gets to 4, 5, 6, it's going to go to the teens. You're welcome, Sam. I don't know which chart. What's this? Carol. Oh. But why do you want to convert? Oh, God. You know what, Lois? I don't. Well, it's 4 o'clock. I guess I've got all the time in the world now. You don't want to convert. There's a deadline on that note, but they'll extend the date. But there's no what. Roughly, in order of priority, I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, but roughly in order of priority, and this is debatable. I don't know if I spelled that right. I can't spell. Lewis, in the event of bankruptcy or default, in general, what the company owes the employees and the trades, the short-term workers and all that, I think comes first, because it just comes out of the business expenses. But then it's senior secured debt, it's liens, whether it's from banks or other loans that you have that come behind the senior claim. And then taxes and government might actually go to the top. I don't know. It's all up to the judge. And then it's the unsecured debt. Then it's preferred shares. And then it's equity. Why the hell would you convert your note into equity? Why? You're going to fall from secured all the way down to shit. But anyway, if you want to, I don't understand the thinking process there. When you're in a note that converts into shares at a specific price and it has a 5-year maturity, there is absolutely no reason under the sun to get out of that senior secured note. Now, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know what it says on top of that note. It may just say secured note. May just say secured note, but I think it's a senior secured note. Why the hell would you voluntarily switch out of a premier position to go down to the worst position in terms of claims on assets? I don't get it. You don't get any benefit out of doing that. You're going to get the exchange anytime between now and maturity, and that thing they may extend it anyway. On top of that, you get interest. You're getting, I don't remember, is it 7% interest? I've done a number of transactions. I think you're getting 7% interest per annum on your investment. Why would you go to shares that don't trade anyway? There's no market for the shares. And you're not getting interest. And you're reducing the quality of your security, in terms of bankruptcy security, not stock. Well, yeah, you're even getting a lesser quality financial security as well. You're going from a convertible senior secured debt piece to crappy equity. I don't know, Louis. I'll try to reach out to Carol and find out what's going on, but I think that's a bad move. I doubt that she told you will have to do it. I have a suspicion that you called her and said you'd like to convert, and then she said that's what you have to do. But I'll find out from her. Maybe I'm wrong. There's no way the company's making a campaign out of converting everybody into shares. There's no way. No way. But let me look into it, Louis. You caught me by surprise. I just think it's a really dunderhead move based on what I know. I mean, there might be more information. I don't know. Well, that's a powerful one. I'm almost legend. Although we don't want to squeeze in Railtown, if it were to happen and the shorts covered, what price would their breaking point be? Can half a B be said to be, or half not be? Sammy Carnally. This is a tough one. Let me show what I did. I'm not ready to give an answer, but let me show the thoughts that I had when I was considering that question this weekend. Okay. um, this is the part I don't know. Let me use this. But I'll tell you what I concluded this weekend. And that's why we got to talk about it. This is a good time to talk about it. But I don't know. It's tough. So here, if you picture the stock going to 13, and I use the Fibonacci numbers for lack of anything else, and then round numbers. So 13, 21, 25, 34, 50 is a round number, 55, 75 round number. That's where people tend to sell. And then 89, 100, 144, 150, 200, 233 in a squeeze. All of these numbers seem ridiculous right now. I think it's a pretty safe thing, at least as far as I'm concerned, that I would not sell at 25 or below. Other people have told me they would because they think it'll pull back. And a lot of it will be determined by how much the volume is in the stock if it reaches those levels. In the range of 30 to 50, maybe. But I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a real tough call. What if the stock ran to 55 and you sold, it pulled back maybe to 30 and then it ran again, and that maybe the company took advantage of a high raise or they used their stock price. I don't know. It's just a maybe. Because down here, what I'm worried about is if I get out, the stock runs and I never get back in. I think that's a real risk down here. Is it at 25? Maybe not, but at 13, I think it's a real risk. It's all a sliding scale. But if it's a risk at 25, why wouldn't it be a risk at some of these numbers? And I haven't fleshed that out enough, but I think maybe. But yes, I think once it gets to 75, 89, 100, these numbers, if it ever did, I would probably sell knowing that after the squeeze is over, it's going to settle back down at 25 or 30 or $35 a share. I don't know about 50. That's that maybe range. So it's tough. It's tough. I think two things to look for. One is the volume, if it squeezes. We don't know if it will. The second thing is between now and then, I hope there are news announcements which I hope contain revenue projections of some kind. And then I think we can put multiples on it. And I hope the news explains how many shares are going to be out so we can start to get a per share number of where the stock might settle. There's a huge difference on this continuum if you use 150 times revenue versus 25 times revenue. So it's that's why I don't want it to squeeze, because it's going to be scary. But my own goal will be, I don't have, I'm probably being ridiculous because I don't have a huge account like I might have. But My goal is going to be to hang on to the stock. If it has some of this volatility, I want to hang on to the stock. I do not want to sell hoping to buy back in, and the buy back in never becomes available. I mean, you could sell at 50 and you say to yourself, well, it's going to pull back to 25 and I'm going to double my number of shares, but it only goes back to 35 for a day, for an hour. And then it takes off, and the next thing you know, it's 70. And you might not get back in. This stock, I believe, I was trying to explain it to somebody the other day who had, I forget how many, like 40,000 shares. And I said, that could be $25 by the end of the year. And he said, oh, William, you're crazy. Come on. I said, well, maybe it won't happen by the end of the year. But what do you care? If it goes to 25 in the middle of a year from now, once it gets to 25, it's where it stays. I mean, there'll be fluctuation, but over the long run, that's where it stays. It's not one of these stocks that blows up and pops like a balloon and crashes. So, for example, in that example, 40,000 shares becomes $1 million. I said, what do you care if it happens at the end of the year or the middle of next year or the end of next year? Once it happens, that's going to be your reality for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, I'm making a big statement there. We can't predict everything. But in general, this is going to become a stock that's the value of the stock. There will be fluctuations, but on average during a year. So as long as we get ready to own this, for me, I would rather, at least as I'm thinking about it now, we'll have more information. But for example, if the stock went to $34, which is a tough one, I think I'd rather hang on to it. And if it pulls back to 22, oh well, I missed my chance to do a fancy trade. But I'll be content with 34 over the longer haul. And I don't want to get into the idea that Tony and Lion and Benedetto, these type of guys, they're going to want you to take that profit because it's a win. It's a win for retail. And psst, 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 you liked that one. I got another one over here. I don't want to do any of that. I think this stock, and we'll do it later, but I don't know, what's a cutoff for meaningful money? 500,000, 250,000, $1 million? I mean, 50,000 shares at $50. I think it's 1.25, but let me make sure. No, $2.5 million. So if you have 50,000 shares, goes to $50, are you going to sell it and hope you can buy it back at 25 at the risk you don't own that stock when it goes to 100? Or do you just say, you know what, I'm going to stick with it, and if it goes down, I'll ride it out? I don't know the answer. I'm almost legend. At $50, I don't know the answer. I think at $25, I know the answer for myself. I wouldn't do it. I know some people, I've talked to them, they'll sell it at 15 because they feel like it'll pull back to 2, 7, or 8. And I guess I'm just too scared. But that's how I feel about it now. As we get more information, as we get clarity on revenues, as we get clarity on timing, clarity on the number of shares, I think we can narrow down our answer much better than I just did. I hope it doesn't squeeze. I really hope it doesn't squeeze. William Wallace, hold, 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 hold. Good for you, William. That's a good number. Oh, Trading View. Trading View. Yeah, people tell me to get that. Wolfie. Wolfie's always giving me a hard time. Kitteridge, Kitteridge, Karoo. ABVC from 40 cents to $5, 4 months. Finally, a well-needed pullback. I don't know that stock. I'll look it up. ABVC. It's a nice trade. Good for you. Good for you. Do I think in a few years? Yeah, but a lot's got to go right. A lot's got to go right. Benjamin, I believe that Chairman Xi is going to lose his job. And if Finger Motion's trust they've built is tied to anybody that gets fired with them, that's a risk. But is it a real risk? I have no idea. May not be a significant risk. China's going through, I think, by all indications, a bit of a turndown in its economy. Will they recover in the long run? I think absolutely. I think absolutely. But it's something to be aware of now. At the risk of sounding totally loco, I actually believe that China has a population problem. They might only have half or fewer the people that they claim, and that's going to have an impact on their economy. If so, yeah, I guess those are some of the macro risks. In terms of Finger itself, I think they made a mistake. Now, I'm not in the boardroom, so I don't know what's going on. But I believe the stock went from $1 to $5, partly because the criminals, turned on their buy machines to suck everybody in so they could be shorting, so they could have a pool of capital to offer to Roth Capital, to offer to Finger Motion. I don't know if that happened, but if it did, I think Finger should have taken it. The fact that they did not take, I don't know, $25 million from Roth Capital at $3 when the stock was trading for 4.25. It could be stubbornness. We don't want to do that kind of deal anymore. We're going to fund ourselves with our investors. It could be that. But it also could be the C2 contract is not as big and as urgent as, looking back, I don't know if the company ever said it was. It might have just been the common story that became currency in our group. But in any event, I don't think the C2 contract is going to be a rapid growing, rapidly growing, rapid event and rapidly growing contributor to the bottom line now. Could be wrong, but they didn't raise enough money to make me believe that they're on the verge of equipping 100 cars or 200 trucks or whatever. It wasn't even, there was, don't know. I think that Finger Motion's big data arm is a very compelling value proposition, very compelling, and it could hit at any time. They could sell some of their cloud computing at big numbers, high profitability. It's not repeatable though, so that doesn't always translate into stock value. But if they get insurance companies through their laboratory that they're working on, it's an ongoing thing, and they're probably in stage 2 or 3 of that. If they come up with the correct set of data and the strategy to sell and resell insurance, it's a home run, but I don't know when that happens. I don't, the lifestyle app, the top-up business is a very stabilizing force, but I would imagine that that top-up business is worth 1, at the most 2 times revenue. It's just not worth very much in valuation because there's no profit margin in it. It is safe, so it might be worth more than 1 times. And then the big thing is, I don't see the company turning earnings positive. There was no management discussion in the annual report. So I guess one answer will be their first quarter earnings will get management and get to know how their earnings are going. So, but until that, it's very hard to make a prediction at all. I think they're going to need to raise more money, Benjamin. So all the good news, they run the risk of falling in the trap of every other stock out there. They have roughly 50 million shares outstanding, which is brilliant. They did a really good job. I think a lot of that was the hard work of Ham to keep their outstanding shares low. But if they need to go to market next time for more than 1 million or so, I can envision a scenario if they turn to Roth Capital, who I think has a two-faced operation. But I can see them going to Roth Capital to raise capital, and Roth goes to the Toad, and the Toad starts shorting the stock. It goes up a bit, shorts the stock. Said, sure, I can give them 5 million, but it's going to be at 75 cents because that's where the stock is right now. Last time it was 286, and they did the deal at 150. So at $2, they might do it at $1 or less. And then at 150, they drove it down to $1. So I think there's thin ice right now with Finger. I believe they should have taken 20, 25, 30 million, even if they had to sell 10 million shares, but they didn't. And look, it's easy for me to have my opinion. I'm not running the company. I don't speak Chinese. I'm not negotiating. I don't know what the investors are going to do. I don't know that the MetLife might have already indicated they're going to sign a $50 million deal. I don't know any of this stuff. So it's all speculation, and it makes it mostly worthless. My thoughts are mostly worthless. But is that a value play in a few years? Sure, I think so. But does that mean you should hold it through thick and thin? I don't. That's a different question. I would buy Railtown with finger right now. And by my way of thinking, according to me, the stock is going to give you a 10x. And when it's 10x, hell, if it gives you 100x, it goes to $60. You're sitting with a stock that's marginable. I'm not sure I'd advise it, but without selling a single share of Railtown, you could purchase your original position in finger on margin, and nothing's changed. You just got to cover the margin interest in your account. I wouldn't go wild with the margin, but if it at that point, it probably less than 5% margin to reestablish your finger. I don't understand this need to make our money back in the stock we lost it with. It's an odd thing. Oh, I owned Kelly Oil, and it went to $32, actually $31, $29. It didn't make it to 32, and now it's $1.50. I better hang on to it. Well, why? It's very hard, Benjamin, when a stock, I mean, looking at finger, it went from $1 to $5, and now it's $2. That was a hell of a move. It went up 5x. Now from $2 to get back to $4, it's got to double. It's a hell of a move. That doesn't happen with stocks that often. I mean, Kit just pointed out one that moved nicely. Line of All Trades picked one the other day. Yeah, I think finger is a good value play longer term. I think there's a lot of risk in the near term. A lot of risk over the next few months. They haven't proven that they can, it's the same story I always say, but they haven't proven that they can grow revenue, repeat revenue, grow the revenue, grow cash flow and earnings, and do it as far as the eye can see. They haven't shown that. So when they go to raise money, it's going to be tough unless the stock's up again. That's why I think they needed to do it before. The stock is trading for roughly 100 million in valuation, finger motion. The revenue has been essentially 35 million in the last 3 years. No profit. So if you give it a 3x times revenue, which I think's high, just based on top-up business, it might be undervalued. If you give it 2x, which I think might be high, the stock's overvalued at $2. Maybe it should be trading at $1.50. I don't know. Reality's going to come. I'm telling you guys, reality is going to come to the stock market. I mean, we may first have, and I believe this blow off top where the S&P goes to 8,500, the Dow 65,000, NASDAQ 30,000, Russell 4,000, gold to 5,000, silver to 110 at 20, and silver is breaking out. That all could happen by September. It could happen by December. It could happen by January. It could happen by March. But after it happens, I think we've got a 90% correction, 95% correction in the market. Pretty scary stuff. Now, I may end up being correct in gold terms rather than dollar terms, but we'll find out. Once that happens, once the correction blows up the con game of Wall Street, you're going to have at least one generation, possibly two generations, that just don't invest in the stock market. And all this speculative trading where a stock goes from 40 cents to $5, or a bankrupt company, Chapter 11 goes from 40 cents to $2.90. On the news, they entered Chapter 11, and Lion of all trades comes on here to woo you with it. Oh, it looks like a squeeze. Well, it went up, but it's a side. That is bull market mania. It's going to stop. I don't know when it's going to stop, but it's going to stop. And then finger motion might be in a position where it's just another company that gets by, and you follow it every year. It's one of your favorites to look up. Every time you look, it's $1.50, or it's $2.50, or it's $3. But that's where it is. And remember, any stock under $5 is constantly preyed upon by these people you think are your friends, and they keep shorting it. So as soon as people stop buying Finger, if they do, the shorting starts working. Who asked me that question? Benjamin. I think the stock market is going to go through a convulsion, and waiting a few years for your reward in Finger is an indulgence. Hopefully people will be able to buy Railtown tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and But I just have the urgent sense that at any day they'll announce that deal's done and the stock trades at $1.20. I'd still think it's worth buying, but I think it is stubborn loyalty to hang on to Finger right now when you can get 10x in Railtown. That's how I see it. Now, Kit Kitteridge makes a good point. There are stocks out there. I didn't know about cash, but there's a lot of stocks out there with asset values, particularly in the resource space, that you can buy and just hold. So there are places to do that. But I didn't know about ABVC. I didn't know about it. I do now. It's already up 10x, 12x. Hey, Jacqueline. You're welcome. Thank you. Out of my cell, you had it 17, 1 to 18, and nothing. Yeah, it's not a real market. It's not a real market. I think what you have to do is call your dedicated sales team at whatever firm you're with and put that question to them. And they'll say, oh, let me look, to click, 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 click. It's called the expert market. There's no real bid and ask. That's why it's insane. I would put out a GTC, but do you understand, in order for it to sell at 17, somebody has to put a buy order in, a bid, in size at 17 or higher. The bid has to go through 17 for that to go off. But because it's the expert market, there's no guarantee that it has to go off. So what I would do is call your dedicated sales team and what I would say to them is I'd present the question. Then I would ask them, do you see a bid? Are you in touch with a bid? And if they tell you they do, I would just hit the bid. I think I'd hit it even if it's 12 cents. I'd just be glad to get out of it. That stock is worthless, and it will be worthless. I mean, it might be worth half a penny, even with everything going right. Julie says GTC. She's right. If you put in a GTC, they'll trade around it because they make money on that, and the computers will pick it up. But you don't really know what the bid is out there. Julie got it off, I think, at 20 cents. You see 18 cents, but that might be an 18 cents purchase. So the bid might be 15 cents. You just don't know. I think Julie did brilliantly. Lewis says I had to lower the limit even further. Yeah, I think that's right. Kit Kitteridge, some people don't like Railtown at 40, but then love it at $5. This is just the way it happens. No kidding. It's so human. It's so human. No kidding. But you know what's funny, this case, Kit? At $5, it'll be worth it. If they fall in love with it at $5, it'll be a good investment. That's my opinion right now. We'll follow it as I'm just checking the Canadian. Oh no, I thought it closed at 82 cents, Canada. It didn't. But you're right about that. Lewis, I don't want to do anything. I never did a promissory note before. Well, Lewis, that promissory note was the pre-existing arrangement with big investors, multi-million, hundreds of $1 million investors. And it's because of that promissory note. It's not the best, it's written for lawyers. It's not written for you and me to understand it, you and I to understand it. But it includes some very important things in there, which is why I don't know why anyone would give it up. I don't remember the amount of money you put up, but the share price was 4 cents a share. So let's say you put up $4,000. I know you put up more than that. 4,000 was just the threshold. So if you put up $4,000, you get 100,000 shares. But in that note, and it's something I negotiated, you get one warrant at 4 cents for 5 years. You get the right to purchase another share at 4 cents for 5 years. So that actually doubles it to 200,000 shares. And then they have some weird little, 4% extra bonus of warrants, which is nice to have. If the stock goes, you're going to be glad to have it. But the promissory note gives you that ability to essentially, that's why this transaction is a good transaction. It's been frustrating, and I get pressure on it every day because the funding that will make this extremely valuable is just like stuck in neutral. It's just stuck in delay. And it's a bureaucracy, and the person handling everything she happens to be a woman. And my experience, if there's vacation time, women take it. Some men do too, but anyway, we're in DC. The heat's here. You had Juneteenth. That's a week when you spread it across the weekend. We had July 4th. You got to take that whole week. And you're probably not back to work yet. And then you got August. Everybody deserves August off, particularly when you're a big shot. So I'm hopeful the window of that money in motion will be over the next 2 weeks. But I'm afraid if we get into August, we won't see it happen until September. So I'll probably have to, Lewis, get to work maybe on raising some money from the investors that are in it. But right now I've been focused on Railtown. And I don't think this is going to go on much longer with Railtown. But it could. I mean, frankly, it could. It could be another couple of weeks or longer. But it could be tomorrow morning. I just... They're going to have to announce that they finalized the acquisition of AI Partners. It's going to come, and then it'll change everything. I don't know how to read that. A plus. I don't know. So 56 views. Thank you. I know I'm unpopular. Hi, William. Wow. DB. Let me see what I wrote down. Oh, no, that was from yesterday. I didn't write that down today. So DB, you purchased 99,814. So do I add that to your old number? Let me just see. I think I had a number for you. I had 45,000 for you before. 45,482. So you purchased 99. Do I add those together? Or is that the total? But that's great, DB. Either way, that's fantastic. Late 30s. Late 30s, LOL. Shorts break up on the combination of solid news, solid balance sheets, awareness. That's true. I'm not sure. I tried to read the balance sheet on Railtown. It's old. But every industry, every company, every hang on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me do that. Every industry, the balance sheet means different things. And I don't know what it means now in these startup AI companies. Anyway, my opinion of what's going to make Railtown leap off the page is projected revenue. That's what I think is going to do it. I think this conductor technology is first in class, first to market, solves a real problem, and it's going to allow companies to accelerate their own AI software. I think it's just huge. And, it's bigger than, and I will always love you. That was a big song. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Kit. So you notice it. You notice the stocks when they break out of seller boxing. All right. I like that. Your strategy, I like. I just don't have a computerized system to follow it, but I would do it. I said Nix was flat or double. Rlaif is already doubled. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And I will always love you. And I will. Well, that's right, Pete. If you get it up to that number, if it squeezes, you jump off and hop back on. These are decisions each of us will have to make. I'll guide you with what I think, but I can't make the decision. Worst case, you just hang on. Because I want us to move away from trading. But if the price is right, you gotta, it's stupid not to act either. So. Dolly Parton looks a little bit like Miley Cyrus. But I'm glad Dolly Parton grew up in the age where it was big boobies that mattered, not tattoos. Pete the Great highlight him, but lost faith in him via his approach. After this so-called meeting with Bondi, trust is an issue. I didn't know he had a meeting with Bondi. I don't like Blondie. Don't die, Blondie. I don't like her. I just don't like her. If it does squeeze, how high could it go? That's where I've always gotten in trouble before. But there's 40, according to the latest data, which I showed you yesterday, there's 41 million short. Is that credible data? Who knows? But 41 million short with 100 million float, and it's all tightly held. Who's going to sell? It becomes perplexing. How high could it go? They're shorting the heck out of it. There's no way that we could have bought all this stock below 60 cents unless they're shorting it to us. And they're about to find out that, I think it's called fat tail, a fat tail. I think they're about to see a fat tail event right upside their own head. Hey, PS71. How do we know the acquisition deal is still on? We've seen others where the deals fall through and they make no announcement. Yeah. I guess the shortest answer, I don't know for sure. We just don't know. But I Googled, it's called the Bureau or something like that. I Googled it in Canada. That doesn't sound right, the Bureau. It's something like that. Anyway, I Googled, how long does it take to approve a merger/acquisition deal? And in Canada, it takes 30 days. So February 11th, it should have been done by mid-March. And they said, then I don't know if they said it or I asked what could go wrong, but they said, if it takes longer than 30 days, the responsibility of that Canadian, whatever it's called, bureau, is to maintain a high degree of competition. So if they determine that the deal is going to constrain competition, they'll take another 30 days. So that's 60 days in total. And assumption number one, if the regulators said we're not going to approve it, that would have been notified middle of April. There's no reason. In fact, more than that, they would be legally required, on the risk of going to jail, if they did not disclose that material event, that the regulators said no after 60 days. So then what's the other possibility? Why has it been now 120 days, 150 days? Why is it taken from the first 30-day period, March 11th, to the second 30-day period, 60 days, April 11th? Why have we gone through May 11th, June 11th, and now almost on July 11th with nothing? And my opinion, again, here's the other assumption, is that if you look at the deal, and I felt it in a major way with Logic. Logic announced they were going, as a shell, they were going to absorb 8 companies worth $1 billion. I think anybody willing to think it out gamemanship almost, would realize you're going to have to make that negotiation with all eight companies, or 6 of them or something, all at the same time. You're going to have to insist on the value proposition. You're going to have to sort out who's in charge, and you're going to figure out the number of shares all at once in order to create, let's say, 80 cents a share in value for the logic shareholders. Instead, if you're a dolt, you sign one deal for 100 million supposedly, and you double the amount of shares, and you don't get anything for it. The stock goes to zero because none of the other companies want to join in on that nightmare. You've doubled the number of shares. You've only gotten one company in for 85% of the stock and control. How do you get the rest of them? Answer, you don't. So I think what's going on, the Occam's razor, the most logical thing is that Railtown is now going to be the mama, the papa bear, papa ship, mama ship, and they're the one that is going to roll up the 160 companies that are in AI Partners, or the best of them. It'll come into AIP Partners, and maybe AIP Partners sits off as a separate entity. I don't know. We'll find out. But they're the ones in charge of rolling it up. And my guess is AI Partners Corp, Partnership Corp, AIP, has 400 million in revenue in its network. It doesn't go to them until they acquire each of those companies. My guess is that Railtown and AIP, because they're working together. Remember, AIP brought in 164 companies into its network, AI companies, startup, private. The 165th is Railtown. So they screened 164 companies and fell in love with the 165th. And they agreed to be bought, merged, and all that. It's a huge statement for the value proposition. And Conductor, I think it's Conductor. So I believe what's happened is these extra months have been taken to negotiate with the top AI companies in the AIP network. I don't know their names, but if you have 400 million in revenue, probably 20% of those companies, 30 something, are doing 320 million. I don't know how to ,10% of the companies, a 90-10 rule, 10% of the companies might be doing 70% of the revenue. But if we go with 320 million, I believe what's happening is they're negotiating with the best companies to lock up as much of that 320 million before they go forward so they can emasculate the criminals. I don't think the criminals are on their mind so much as they want to come out of the gate powerfully so they can attract money, attract investment, and attract other companies and sell their product. So my opinion is the last 3 months is a negotiation period. And then, and the final thing is the stock's going up. One can be skeptical and think that the stock is going up because, Ham is promoting it, but Ham's not even talking about this stock. One could say it's going up because Frank Benedetto came out and said that he bought 100,000 shares at 51 cents. He's just tagging along to make sure he's there when the victory comes, and then he can distract everybody into his latest nightmare. I suppose the fact that we've purchased that many shares does have some impact on the strength of the stock, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think shorts are giving us this. I don't think we're really moving the stock. I think it's people in Canada buying, and it's people aware that the deal is going to be done or is done. Who knows if that's true? But you've never seen the tape tell you anything. In these stocks, the tape doesn't tell you anything. They get promoted, like that stock WOLF. Line comes on, whipping it up. It's obvious to me that Line works for the shorts. That tape isn't telling you anything. It's a bankrupt company. It might tell you a little bit if you're a momentum player. But I think in the case of Railtown, which is hard to accept, we are not the movers in this stock. We don't even know what the heck we're talking about. Me, most of all. I couldn't tell you an AI from a BC. But there are really smart people in Palo Alto, in Canada, in New York, in London, around the world, the Middle East, who invest in AI, who invest in technology, ready to pour money in the next technology. And right now, in order to get the deal done, it's in a quiet period. As soon as the deal is finished, I think these brains, these sources of capital, are going to come pouring into Railtown. That's what I think. And the price is going to be different. Now, the final thing is PS71. If for some reason the merger doesn't happen, a year ago at 12x revenue, the base case, I don't know why my eye is hurting. The base case is $2. The bear case is 90 cents. And the bull case is $3.60 target. Just based on Railtown all by itself. Just based on conductor, Lang tracks, rail tracks, shredder, and the other thing they just announced, the video screen enhancement thing. And just on its own revenue projections, Railtown's very valuable. So I understand the question, but I don't think it changes the fact that buying it at these prices, there's as close to little risk to the downside as you can imagine. Because Railtown all by itself, according to this 12x multiple, is worth $2 base case, written a year ago, with multiples now at 50 times instead of 12 times, 100 times instead of 12 times. I mean, you can figure that out. $2 times 18. I don't know. $2 times, let's just say it's 112 x. So I can do the math. You add 100 times that. It's 20. Can't figure it out in my head. Let's say it goes to 100x instead of 12x. That's 8 times higher, 8.33 higher than 2. That gives you a target of 16. That's just Railtown all by itself. Doesn't have the merger involved. So even if your fears turn out to have merit and the merger never happens, Railtown at 100x of revenue on this this base case, which is a target market of 3 billion, the target market's 100 billion, if anything at all. Railtown is worth much more than 60 cents, 10x, 20x, all by itself, without the merger. Without the merger. So I understand that other companies have presented mergers, but these aren't real companies. A guy owns a bunch of penthouse pictures and he's going to sell his company to a guy who drives a Rolls Royce and might be acquiring Trento Mines through GTII. Those aren't real companies. That's the only ones I can think of that are deals that were announced that didn't happen. GTII and CRTD. More than one deal in GTII. I can't think of any. Oh, G-Bucks had that acquisition. But the gold acquisition apparently got announced. I don't know if it's finalized. Anyway, all I can tell you is Railtown's a whole different kettle of fish. It's not these other stocks. It's not a bunch of guys that used to work on trading desks or used to work in the shadows of Wall Street elsewhere, who don't have a job, coming out with their cigarettes and cigars and whiskey and coffee and coming on calls and sounding like they know what the hell they're talking about, and everybody doesn't know what they're talking about. So these guys sound like geniuses in the land of blind men. The one-eyed man is king. Well, they're less than one-eyed. They can't cut it on Wall Street. So they prey on us. But anyway, these stocks that you're comparing Railtown to, it's like comparing you go to the retirement home for soldiers and you compare that to the French Legion. There's no comparison. One can assault a fort and one can barely get up out of bed. On a positive note, GTII sucks. Logic sucks. Go Logic sucks. MMTLP sucks. CRTD sucks. We're shells and we gambled. Well, yeah, I would say in the case of Logic, I misjudged the CEO. I like him, but I don't think he's capable of doing a deal. And he had shown that with Wayland, with Neo, and with Ionic. So why did I think he'd get it done this time? I think that's my failing. But Logic really, it was a shell, you're right, but it should have worked. But I can't control what agreement the CEO signs. And then on MMTOP, I really think we just got outright screwed by that. I don't think, well, in my case, I think it was a gamble buying it at $8 on the last day. But I don't think the gamble should return zero. The criminals really are getting away with something there. They destroyed Torchlight, which should have had a chance to develop their projects. They destroyed MMAT, who had great technology. And then they just outright committed fraud with MMTLP, took money out of the market, and now they're walking away clean. And if that doesn't show you that it's not gambling, when you gamble, you have a chance to win. When you gamble, you have a chance to win. This is just fleecing. And until we recognize that those guys that come to us, they're all liars. If they're not, prove it to me. I'm not going to don't give them the benefit of the doubt. They count on us being civil human beings. They're not civil. They're just thieves. Anyway, I think there was an investment thesis in MMTLP. I think there was an investment thesis in Logic. So they shouldn't have been gambles. It turns out that Logic was purely a gamble on Brett's son making the right choices. And he folded. MMTLP, you can't say we didn't try, but those guys won as far as I can tell. Go Logic, it's hard to say. Nothing ever happened. That was meant to be with recruiter.com. That guy, another CEO who hits and runs, he puts on his shorts and says he's fighting the shorts. He got 600,000 shares or something of Nixie, sold them all. So he's rich. He's gone down the highway. GTII is an arrogant, cocky mofo of a CEO who apparently is greedy and broke the law, according to filings. And he might have been in it with the Kramers from the start. I don't know. CRTD, that guy ran into him, and Ham gave him a big investor, just gave it to him. And that guy burned through money like Sherman on his way to Georgia. Those are, it's too bad. I agree with you, PS 71. Railtown, I think can make up for all of that pain. And that's why I'm on my little campaign. Finger is a real company with a plan, a good CEO, good team. They have some questions to answer. They have a period of time to get through, and I don't want to misrepresent my trepidation. I think there is a period of time that's going to be risky for Finger. On the other hand, they have a track record of success, hard work, good loyal investors, and I think they can make it through and thrive on the other side. Railtown is now. Railtown is now. No ifs, ands, and buts. I'm just tapped out. I know, PS71. I have millions of shares of Logic too. And they're going to do a reverse split, which sucks. But maybe when they do it, we'll get one of those runs like GNS or they all seem to have a run at first, and maybe we can just get out. I have heard fourth hand that the CEO of Logic, the new one, believes he can make good things happen. I think he works with Aubrey investors, but I could be wrong. And that he wants to go on the NASDAQ. Why anyone wants to go there, I don't know. And that he's going to make it happen, and that maybe the stock goes to 20 cents, 25 cents. If any of that's true, I would use any opportunity just to liquidate and go on, move on. I don't trust it at all, but we'll see. We'll see. Stocks that solve problems like Maria. How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you solve a Dixie in your hand? Da, 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 da. Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand? So 59.79. That's not as exciting as 60 cents. Take a weekend and find the investments. 320K Finger swapped for much healthier plays. Among the hundreds better. I love research and best probabilities in my Saratoga racehorse theory. I'd love to go up with your Saratoga racehorse theory. I'd love to go up to Saratoga and bet on the races. I have been. Good for you. Good for you, kid. Dollars is dollars, and Finger wasn't my wife. Love is love and not fade away. Danny, I got 4,500 more. Bravo, young man. Bravo. Bravo. Ted Williams. Uh-oh. He's going down. He's going down. He's going down, 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 down. No, he's not. That is still a big, big number. 156.2. It's amazing, Ted. Amazing. It is a confused. Lewis is right. Giuseppe is right. It is a confusing agreement. It's written like crap, but a lawyer did it. So I'm glad I didn't become a lawyer. So it's exactly, Giuseppe, and exactly, Louis. It's not, my reaction is not negative that you found the document confusing. Maybe I should have reacted differently, but it just surprised me. That's all. But I agree with you. Stop acting. There is no risk. Rail could be nothing tomorrow. I am concerned about your all in, although I played. I don't see the risk, David. I'm not acting. I don't see the risk in Railtown. Now, I've gone through hours and hours and hours of discussion, and it's hard to quickly answer your question with all of the points I raised. But I do not see that Railtown can go to zero. I don't see it. Obviously, the blanket statement, this research capital report says speculative buy. So it is a speculative buy. And in the category of speculation, anything can happen, but I don't see it. Why do you think it'll go to zero? You're just saying it? It just doesn't make any sense, David, what you're saying. Any random stock can go to zero. But if you studied it, you obviously don't understand AI 2.0, and I don't pretend to either. You don't understand the multiples. I don't pretend to either. You don't understand how money flows on Wall Street. I do, as a participant in it, that extent of it. But yeah, I can't. There was an article I had on AI 2.0. I don't see it right now. I think there is no risk rail could be nothing tomorrow. I think the risk of rail being nothing tomorrow is zero. So I hope we have more time to add to our positions, but it could come as soon as tomorrow morning that the stock's a buck. And you can add your position at $1, and then you'll be convinced there's no risk because Morgan Stanley is buying for their AI 2.0 Trust Plus Bust Fund. But I am convinced, David, you're just making a statement that it's a non sequitur. It's a complete non sequitur. Stop acting. There is no risk. Rail could be nothing tomorrow. I am concerned about your all in, although I played. Well, thank you for sharing your concerns. Let me repeat. I think it should be all in on Railtown. Now, Ralph, good answer. If I called IR legally, what would they tell me? Could they say deal pending or deal dead? Yes, you could call them. You could call them PS 71. I think it was Sparky that did call in. I think it was Sparky. Somebody called in and they reported here that the man they spoke to, I thought the IR person was a woman, but the gentleman they spoke to said everything's going great, it's all good, but that's third hand. They typed it here, so I'm not making it up. But yeah, you can call in. You sure could call in. You sure could call in. Hey, Red Pepperoni, how are you doing? Brandon, that's great. 2650. I'm supporting 100%. I'm just scared. Yeah. I understand that too. The thing when you invest is to fight emotions, and fear and being scared is just one of those. It is scary. So don't do more than you feel comfortable. But to me, with new money, but to me, with these other stocks, I would just abandon them and put it in Railtown. Because that's where, just because it's showing up on your screen now doesn't mean it'll show up on your screen later. And I think those stocks could go to zero. Not all of them, but pick any one of those stocks. They can go to 20 cents. The effort of the criminals is to take all of those market caps down. They want to steal all of the market caps, and Adina Friedman lets them do it. Gary Gensler lets them do it. Chuck E. Cheese lets them do it. Robert Cook lets them do it. Ann Wagner wants to protect their privacy. So Alcaraz got through, of course. Easiest draw ever. Easiest draw ever. And Djokovic, it's got a bear of a draw. All right, I've written down everybody's additions here, and nothing happened at the close. The stock closed at 60 cents, 0.5979, 1.26 million. So there's not much more to report. Some of our other stocks, the drum major stock closed at 111. WOLF, the chapter 11, and they have to rework I forget what it was, $70 billion worth of debt. I forget, huge number. And he's on your side. He's a day trader. That's the thing. It's the difference. If he mistakes you guys for day traders, he's got to go find his own clients that want a day trade. G-Bucks closed at 2. Finger closed at, I gotta pull it up, 196. Check. I wish you could do something. A woman I was sweet on, we were going out, and one time she asked me, "What color was your hair?" And I had no idea that there was no trace of any color in my hair. I think some of my gray hairs from some of our older stocks are starting to rejuvenate. Yeah, this isn't a, you know, I like I Am Almost Legends question because it's the key. If it does have a squeeze, gosh, what do you do? We'll talk through those scenarios once. I feel like my job right now is to make sure people know what I'm insisting upon before the deal gets closed. And I don't know what day that is. I really, maybe it's when everybody gets back from their 4th of July holiday this week. I didn't notice that. I didn't see any notice. Oh, Lordy. I got to tell you, that doesn't sound good. Let me look into it. If I had to guess, that gentleman took a lot of money out of that deal. On the other hand, if they do have that system, that could be valuable. But let me look into it. That doesn't make me feel good. Totally different story. I'll try to, darn it. Lion says he didn't bring that stock here. He did. Unless there's another Lion out there. Thank you for explaining. I don't know the answer to that. A squeeze could happen sooner. The target, do you see that down there? Probably not, because it's so small. The squeeze trigger price is 35 cents. According to this study, the number of shares is 41 million short. They're fighting really hard to keep it down. So could a squeeze start sooner? Yes, it could start sooner than $5 or $10. I think it's going to be all she wrote when they announce the deal's done. They're bringing in revenue by acquiring these companies, so they don't need to go to the market, in my judgment. And the value, to me, has already been confirmed by the fact that the guys at Omers and Ruffalo want to do this deal after 160 some companies. So I think there is value in Railtown at a higher number. So I don't think the shorting is going to change that. I think these guys are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It is the fat tail. And, you know, I hope they've set money aside so they can get through it. It's not going to be pretty for them, but they'll just walk away. You know, this one they'll lose, and they've made money on every other one. But on the face of it, if they have to buy 40 million shares in, that could start any time, and that could really run. It's a good question. I just don't want to think about it. I really never focused on this stock as a squeeze play stock. And I don't even want to think it's a squeeze play stock. But if it is, we got to adapt quickly, and we'll just pick numbers, you know, put numbers out there, big numbers out there. You know, the other Jacqueline was asking, I think she was asking what price it could be sold for. One of my calculations came out at, I think, $133. Meaningless calculation. But maybe you put it out at that. If you can get that now, why wait? You know? Except for taxes, why wait? Um, uh, it's a very perceptive question. I'm not willing to say it couldn't happen at $1 or $3. These guys are in trouble. But I think at $1 or $2 or $3, they can lie to their prime brokers. They probably have enough assets in their tied-in account, their master account, that they can survive that. But it's a lot of money. If it is 40 million shares, I'm not sure it is, but they say it is. So if it's 40 million shares and you're right, it goes to $3, they got to come up with 120 million to keep the prime broker happy. If they walk away, the prime broker is going to have to cover that position. Now the short squeeze could happen sooner. I just don't like thinking about it. So that's what I'll do. I'll think about it tonight so I can have a better answer when we talk tomorrow. How's that? All right, it's 5:45. I think I might quit. I might go. Oh, the thunder. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to just break it off. I appreciate to everybody. Pray for peace around the world, particularly for the children who did nothing to cause it, and they're trapped in the Middle East, in the Ukraine, and elsewhere in Rwanda and Botswana. And pray for the little children and the father that was so brave, but the children who died in Texas. And pray for all those suffering in the world. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.